Welcome to Campfire Stories.
Welcome back to the fire, friends, for the last night of this one. When we left him, Lucas Meyers was no longer a boy. He was a gray-haired man with a quiet business on the coast, a life built one careful year at a time on 4 bars of another man's gold, and a secret he had buried so deep he had almost learned to sleep. And then a knock came at his door, and on his step stood a stranger holding a brass key exactly like his own, asking for him by the name he had not used since he was 19. Tonight, we open the box.
Marty, I have waited a week for this, and I am still afraid of it. Who is standing on that step?
She was maybe 40, Carol, plainly dressed, calm in the particular way of someone who has practiced a moment for years. And when Lucas, with his heart going like it had not gone since the water tower, managed to ask who she was, she said a name that meant nothing to him, and then she said the thing that did. She said, "My father wore a very good coat. And you were the boy at the hole."
His daughter. Marty, the man in the good coat, had a daughter. Oh, that lonely, frightening man had a child in the world all along.
He did. And she told Lucas, standing there on the step, the piece of the story he had never known, the piece her father had spent his last 11 years building. That man had not been a fool who forgot he was only useful. He had known exactly what the certain people were, and known that one day they would close his account the way they closed every account. So he had prepared. Quietly, patiently, over all those years he had written it all down. Every name. Every account in every country. Every shipment, every route, every quiet man and the quiet men above them. The whole architecture of the certain people set down in his own careful hand, and he had put it in a single safe deposit box as insurance against the day they came for him.
The box the brass key opens. Marty, that is what he carried. Not gold. Evidence. The one thing that could bring down the people who could not be touched.
The one thing they fear, Carol. His exact words to Lucas that night, and they were the plain truth. But here is the piece that makes my throat catch, even now. That man trusted no one, could afford to trust no one, in 11 years of a life like his. And in the end he chose to trust 2 people in the whole world. He had the locksmith make 2 keys, and he built the box so it takes both of them turned together, and neither one alone. One key he left with the only blood he had, his daughter, along with a name, on a slip of paper, of a boy he had watched dig a hole one night on the Trans-Canada. And the other key he pressed into that boy's hand through a car window, 3 minutes before he died, and told him it is the only thing they fear.
2 keys. He split it between his own daughter and a 19-year-old stranger he had hunted across a country. Marty, why the boy? Why would he give half of the only weapon he had to Lucas?
Lucas asked her that very thing, Carol, on the step, in a voice that was barely there. And she said her father had left an answer for it, in case the boy ever asked. He said, because the certain people will always be watching my daughter, and they will never once think to watch a nobody kid who was never in this. He is the safest place in the world to hide half of it. And he said one thing more. He said, and because that boy did a decent thing for a dying stranger on a highway when he did not have to, and a man who would do that can be trusted to know when to use this and when to leave it be.
Oh, Marty. He saw him. All that time, the man in the good coat saw the good in that boy, under the shovel and the buried gold, and all of it. He knew Lucas was better than the worst thing he did.
He knew it, Carol, better than Lucas knew it himself. Now let me answer the old questions, the ones you have carried since the first night, because a story owes you that at the end. The gold. Whose was it? The daughter's father had it written down, all of it. It was the certain people's own fortune, old and filthy money, decades of it, being quietly moved out of the country the way such money always moves, in the trunk of an unremarkable car driven by a frail old courier who spoke no English, so he could never say a wrong word to anyone. When he died on the Trans-Canada, half a ton of that laundered fortune simply vanished, and it drove them to fury, and that fury is the whole reason a man in a good coat ever came looking for a boy on an island.
And the old gentleman himself, the one who started all of it, gripping the wheel, gray as ash. Does the story ever give him back his name?
In her father's ledger, Carol, yes. One line. A name and a village in a country far from here, and the fact quietly noted that he had a sister still living who never learned what became of her brother. And I will tell you now the thing that redeems Lucas Meyers in my eyes, whatever else he did. When he finally heard that, a gray-haired man on his own doorstep, the very first thing he did, before the fear, before the box, before any of it, was ask her to write that village down for him. Because there was one old woman on the other side of the world who had spent a lifetime not knowing, and Lucas Meyers had spent a lifetime not sleeping, and he thought perhaps he could spend some of this cursed money at last on the one thing it might actually be good for. Telling her, quietly, anonymously, that her brother did not die entirely among strangers, that a boy tried to get him to a hospital and stayed.
Oh, Marty. Oh, that is the whole thing, isn't it? That is the toll he paid for the man he became, finally buying something worth having. I'm not ashamed to say I'm crying at the fire tonight.
It is a good place to cry, Carol. And that is where we leave the boy and the gold, because that story is finished. Lucas Meyers went out west, a broke kid of 19, and he came out the other side, a wealthy man who could never once look wealthy, who had 2 ghosts and a life he could not explain, and a peace he never quite got back. The accidental billionaire. They tell it, in the places it gets told, like a story about a lucky boy and a fortune in the ground. But you and I sat with it, all 8 nights, and we know it was never about the gold. It was about a shovel bought twice, and 1 bar kept as a toll and the price of a thing you can never put down.
And he never did sleep a whole night through, did he? Just like you told us on the very first night. All the way back at the start, you knew where this was going.
I did. But here's the thing, Carol, and it is the reason I say the boy and the gold are finished, but Lucas Meyers is not. Because that woman did not come to his door to tell him a sad story and leave. She came holding her father's key, and she knew he had the other, and she came to ask him the question her father built that whole box to make possible. The certain people are still out there tonight, every bit as powerful, every bit as untouched, and between the 2 of them, an aging man on the coast and the daughter of a murdered courier, they hold the only 2 keys to the one thing on this earth that can end them. And Lucas Meyers has spent 40 years being the hunted, staying nobody, keeping his head down, sleeping badly, and being afraid. And he stood in his own doorway, and he looked at that key in her hand, and for the first time in all those years, he felt something that was not fear.
Oh, Marty? He is going to turn it, isn't he? After a lifetime of running, he is going to stop and turn around.
That, my friends, is another story for another season at this fire. The tale of the 2 keys and the box, and what an old man and a young woman decided to do about the people who thought they could never be touched. The boy who buried gold by a water tower has one more thing left in him, and it is not running. But that is a night and a fire still to come. For now, this chapter of Lucas Meyers is told, and it is told in full. I'm Marty Shepherd.
And I'm Carol. Thank you for sitting all 8 nights with us, friends. Hold your people close, sleep warmer than that poor boy ever could, and when the nights turn cold again, come back to the fire. Because Lucas Meyers is not done. And neither, I think, are we